Saintess summons skeletons. By Morn. Chapter 491, Sofia plays the cube game. Wait, how many did you say are watching? Saria whispered to Cynthia while Sofia paused for a second to sip on her drink. 28, the orc streamer answered after giving her chat a quick glance. Damn. 28. Sofia repeated from the end of the table, hey, I am not about to ask you for a donation to keep watching, but I need a lot of divine essence for my racial skills, just saying. The three gods in the room were left speechless. What? Sofia asked looking back at them. I need at least 40, so I'm not even halfway through. I was hoping I could borrow a few from Death with how Clint designed my horns. Anyway, where was I? Ah, yes, so the subclass that got me is actually not a real subclass, from what I understand, just leftover data that the admins collected from relics of the lost epoch. Data related to the lords, to be exact. People exchanged a few worried looks, but at this point, everyone present was starting to get used to Sofia's antics when it came to the deep, except for Richard, who was visibly having a hard time keeping his bones together, not from worry but from excitement. Nobody interrupted Sofia. So that reacted with the regulator's essence somehow, and we ended up in the deep, Sofia explained like it was just another day's work. You what, now? Clint said first as if he'd misheard. Makes sense, Saria commented, and Alith, Iwerrat and Astelia all approved, while Everell and Cynthia lacked any particular reaction, and Zephyr seemed to be fighting a strong headache. Aredes wore a complacent smile and said nothing, just relaxing on her chair, and Richard was eagerly waiting for the rest of the story. Unexpected reactions came from the two celestial gods. Moon and Sun looked at each other silently. Not surprised? Sofia continued since no one commented anymore. There were some peaceful creatures there, affiliated with the regulator, I think. It was a strange place, to say the least, and I did not feel safe there, so I did the obvious to try to get out, and called the lords' names. The obvious? Clint repeated, astounded. Right? I started with Afinareth, but I got no answer, so next I tried the regulator. And yet. In hindsight, bad idea. I'm starting to get why people are afraid of the names now. You did not get it before. Astelia cried out before realizing what she just did and hiding her face behind her hands. Well, kind of. There was the story you told me back then, and what happened to Alith when she asked for Orator's essence, but besides that. Anyway, the point is, if you're going to say their names out loud, maybe don't, unless you're talking about me, that seems to be safe. We all already knew that. Astelia reacted again. Sure, but knowing it because you vaguely know of the deep and knowing it because I told you is different. I mean, the previous times I used them did not actually do anything, except that one time with the Fourth Lord. I guess, this one was a bit of an emergency situation. Human, you are crazy. Moon said, which were her very first words since entering Zangdar. Sofia shrugged, just playing the hand I've been given, also it's Lumion now. Another long silence befell the hall, pushing Sofia to keep going, so, after I walked around a bit, I tried using the Zangdar ring and, hey, here we are. You lie. Moon called Sofia out, and Astelia grabbed her earrings, mumbling an apology to Sofia. You're right, Sofia simply admitted, but this is all I'm allowed to say. And you can confirm that this is true. To this answer, Moon did not retort anything. I really got here with the ring, though, and it should also still lead to the deep, which is why Parith, Bookie and I have been stuck here for months, doing whatever to kill time, Sofia explained, fighting hard against her own inner demons to keep her expression neutral. That should not work, Richard said, perplexed. I made these rings myself. From what I know of the deep, there is no way this could work. Well, it did. My storage ring and the eye worked too, so. They did. Yes? I would show you a proof, but the place I landed in was all made of a weird type of squishy rock, and it was immune to space magic, so I could not bring any back. I had no issues taking my items in and out, though. So they worked but they didn't. Interesting. Honestly, I thought I would get stronger reactions from this story, Sofia commented, or that I would get questioned more. Or asked for more proof. Sun shook her head, I have seen firsthand that you can deal with the deep somehow. It is going to be hard if you want to surpass that. Not much you can do that is as unlikely to begin with, unless you somehow get Moon to cough up an essence or two. That would truly be unheard of. Fuck off, Sun, Moon answered, which Sun candidly ignored. Well, if it is to shock you in particular, I do have something, Sofia teased, now might not be the time and place, though. Oh ho? Sun reacted, bending forward over the table, both hands supporting her chin, now I'm interested. Sofia slightly shook her head, later. We have plenty of time. And, speaking of, is it alright for all of you to be here? Like. If Sun is here, who's out there stopping the Phagiad? Ahaha. I can be in several places at once, Sofia. Moon and I have been shielding the planet for tens of thousands of years, so just trust us. You kids keep worrying about your own things. Bold thing to say considering everyone present, Richard commented. What? Don't like being called a kid, Richie? Come give a hug to Big Mama Sun. I'm not drunk enough for this shit, the skeleton complained. Great to see you were safe, Sofia. Come back by my place to report on the eye when you can, he said before his skeleton fell into a messy pile of bones. There he goes, Aredes said, storing the lich's fallen bones. Well, Saria said, standing up from her chair, job's done, can you show me around the castle, Sofia? Me too. Alith echoed. After exchanging a few more words, Moon, Zephyr, and Clint all left, while everyone else stayed to follow Sofia on a short New Zangdar tour. Too much free time? Aredes asked Sun in the back of the group. The girl's just a lot of fun to be around, don't you agree, Grandma? She answered with a radiant smile. Don't think just because you're a ball of fire I won't dare to bite you. And this is the bone field, Sofia presented a large bone-built warehouse on the outskirts of the platform. The bone field. Saria repeated, an indoor field. This is the issue you have with it, and not the fact that it's bones. Cynthia asked from the side. It's not a field, I just call it that because that's where I harvest bones. Well, where the bones harvest themselves. Inside of the warehouse, 5 skeletons were tied in a circle to the ceiling, over a large bin, around a small glowing ring made of bone blessed by Bone Dominus. Whenever their lower body was fully healed, they detached their pelvis and legs, letting them fall into the bin, and the healing process started again. I can never have enough materials on hand, and my bone storage is so huge it's hard to fill now, so these guys have been working hard to produce more bone. Their bones are not as good as mine, but harvesting my armor is too time consuming. Not worth it for general use. Shit like this is exactly why necromancers are a headache, Aredes commented from the back. Oh. Right, I was thinking of trying to find a way to use that black powder the rot leaves behind, thank you for reminding me. I have a few cubes full of it already, but I haven't really managed to make anything out of it so far except black chalk. Cubes? Did you forget a word? Alith asked. No, barrels are a terrible way to stock things, so I made bone crates, but since I don't have to do any of the usual crate nailing and all, it's just cubes. So I call them cubes. Made them 1 meter by 1 meter, too, so it's easy to know how much volume I have of what. It's easier to organize in my storage ring too, Sofia explained. To illustrate, she brought out one such cube full of carbon dust, and the curious people gathered around. Alith was more interested in the cube than its contents. Pretty nice. I could use small ones to stock my herbs, it is starting to get messy. By the way, Sof, I'm almost done with working back the formula for the pills you gave me, just need like 1 more month. Pills? Saria chimed in, what I'm hearing is I might get to the first aura breakpoint soon thanks to my sister's generous donations. Sofia scratched the back of her head, as long as nobody tells Kyle. Meanwhile, Everell, who had a hand plunged in the cube of black dust, said something that captured 200% of Sofia's attention, you could make diamonds with that. Chapter 492, Why are you like this? Sun grabbed a handful of black dust and clenched her fist, then she lightly threw the contents of her hand in the air, revealing a bunch of tiny transparent rocks, which Sun kept airborne on tiny cushions of mana. Tay-day-ay-ay. These turned out pretty well, you will need to polish them if you want good-looking gemstones. Aredes nodded from the side, you can make larger ones by going slower, but that's a bit more effort. I do have quite a few back home, they're not too useful. I used them a lot when I was messing around with electricity, beyond that it's mostly good for decoration. Could a big diamond not make for a decent catalyst? Astelia asked. Aredes' bunny ears stood up at the idea, we can try that right now. Son, can you make your hair blonde and I'll do it? Why do you have to make it sound weird? Aredes answered, rolling her eyes. Her white hair gradually changed to a light yellow. Happy? Very much so, Son confirmed with a big smile. Why the rabbit beastman disguise, by the way? You used to always just be a weird horned human, if I recall correctly. Since when did you care what I look like? It was a hero's suggestion, apparently moon rabbits are a thing in their world, something like that. I just kind of got used to it. It's cute. I'm starting to get that you actually want me to bite you, Aredes deadpanned. Not in front of the kids. Son answered, blushing and acting shy. What am I even watching? Her little act done, Son held up her part of the deal and placed a hand over the cube full of carbon dust, and a flash of white light blinded everyone present. Done. The goddess said a second later as she healed everyone's eyesight. She had transformed the entirety of the cube's contents into one big diamond chunk occupying about half the volume of the cube. That ought to be enough, what do you want to make of it? No idea. Why don't you all keep visiting, I will be here, might take me half an hour. Astelia and Everell ended up staying behind to watch Aredes work, while the others kept following Sofia. You're not a very good gardener, are you? Son teased, she just needs a good dose of sunlight. Sofia raised an eyebrow at Son's remark, really? I thought plants absorbed light through the leaves, and she doesn't have any. Son shrugged in response. This matter reminds me, Iwara, who had been mostly silent, said, have you summoned the Fae yet? We haven't. Bookie answered for Sofia. Ooh, fairy? I've not seen one venture out of their kingdom in a while. Sofia and Bookie quickly explained the story of that page of his, which Son found very intriguing. So Richie Boy and Alcorm went ahead and sealed the Fae's soul in an ingot? It must have been right on the verge of dissipating completely. Well, what are we waiting for? It's going to share my blessing like all of Little Book's summons, I should at least make sure it's well behaved. Sofia wanted to say yes, but Aredes was probably about done with the spell catalyst by now, and she wanted to make sure she got both Aredes and Son together to ask some questions. Can we do this just a bit later? Now that we're done with the tour, I have a few important things I need to get out of the way, if you don't mind. You would ask for some alone time with me? Oh my! Son answered with a wink. The others did not mind, and the group separated, some following Bookie, some others exploring the castle on their own, leaving only Sofia, Son, and Parith together. So? What is it gonna be? Son asked with a smirk, sitting on a random shelf. Well, there's a few things. I'll start with the more trivial matters. I need a signature from you, if you do not mind. Oh ho, well, maybe if you accept another quest. No. So cold. Son giggled, and just handed Sofia a small golden plaque with a doodle on it, vaguely reminiscing of Son's divine rune. Just give him this and he'll be happy. She explained. Thank you. Now for another rather trivial matter. Yes? Son innocently asked, staring at Sofia dead in the eyes. And never mind. I can't. Oh. That's a pity, I thought you wanted to know if it held up to the real thing. Son teased, pulling on her clothes to reveal some cleavage. Past the initial shock, Sofia quickly tried to change the subject. I wanted to ask about divine essence. So you're just going to ignore it? Well. I thought you more adventurous. What do you want to know? Everyone seems shocked that you gave me 5 essences, so I wanted to ask, how much is it really? How many essences does a god have? What is Ev? And does me holding those not make you weaker? Oof, so many questions. I'll be nice and answer since you got those things off my back on the station, but only if you agree to go to the next trial with my Saintess. So we have some kind of group trial next time? Thank you for the tip, and of course, I don't mind going with Morn. Haven't heard of her in a while. Great. Son pulled out a pair of glasses out of nowhere and her clothes changed to a tight black suit. Welcome to the expedited classes of Professor Sunday. Please listen carefully. To begin with, EV means essence value, it's how we measure the worth of a divine essence. The more powerful the EV, the stronger the god, it goes from 0 to 5, 0 being not a god, and 5 being the strongest a divinity can ever get. All the essences share the same EV, and any extra past 5 gets offloaded as the god's concept leaking out into reality. Not an issue for me, but you can imagine what this means for death. Sofia nodded, knowing full well about death's issues thanks to Leverla. Without going into the hows and whys, a god has about 5 times as many essences as their EV is worth, so I have 25. Discounting the ones I gave away to you and the others, as well as my 2 relics, I have 15 left. Wait. I have a fifth of your entire power? How is that not an issue? That's not really how it works for me, since I have a lot of surplus. As long as you stay relatively close by, I barely lose anything in terms of passive strength. It's only if I want to do something big in one go that it becomes an issue to not have my essences directly with me. In your case, you are holding about 10% of Scripture's actual power, but it's unlikely he can exert that much into the physical realm directly, so it's more like you have 20%. I see. That does help me understand things a lot better now. What about looming? Sofia asked, sharing her divinity status system window. Not an actual divinity, yet. To explain what must be going on here, you simply are one of 5 holders of looming's nascent essence. Is that bad? It just means that you embody the concept of looming well enough that it started to form within you instead of somewhere else. Quite the feat, actually. A divinity's essence always forms from the feelings of people, it's only natural that it would coalesce there too. When the essence is sufficiently strong, if ever, it will leave your body to reunite with the 4 others and form an actual divine being. Probably a recessed, in this case, though it is too early to tell. I can hardly imagine looming being a positively viewed concept, Sofia agreed. One never knows, people are weird. Conflict, for example, is a very unstable concept, it has switched sides several times, making its gods regrettably short-lived. I can imagine that. And what about the Lord's essence? Any commentary? I better not say anything. Well. I tried. That was the moment Aredes chose to enter through the window. Do you need help, Sofia? She asked, giving a suspicious glance at Sun in her new outfit. She's perfectly fine, cutie, but you do look like you need some help, your skin is so pale. Come get a new tan with Teacher Sunday. TSKK. And I thought I was bad, the dragon complained, starting to leave through the same window. Wait, Aredes. It's great that you're here. I would have liked for Richard and Moon to be here too, but I feel like you two are probably enough. It's about the person behind the attack on the system. Chapter 493, The All-Seeing Eye. And after that you both know what happened with the black hole thing and the deep, Sofia finished explaining. Aredes looked at Sun, seeming a bit confused. Any idea? For us to get frozen like that? Time magic? Sun shook her head. No time magic. It feels strange to say that with what just happened to Sofia here, but time magic is not a thing anyone is allowed to use. Believe me, I tried. If you stray too far into that path, the universe itself will stop you, Sun explained, her gaze lost in the distance. Do you mean the Lords? Sofia asked. Whenever Afinareth appears, time freezes in a very similar manner. Just because she was not able to speak of time's death, she could still indirectly probe Sun for how much she might know about it. Maybe. I'm unsure, honestly, but you really do not want to try. Really not. Really not. Aredes gave a worried pat on the back to the blonde goddess. You all right, Sun? Need a drink? I'm good. Just bad memories. I accumulated quite a few over 30,000 years. 30,000. Holy. Sun shook her head and put a smile back on her face. Anyway, didn't want to ruin the mood, so. What that guy did was not actually stopping time, because you can't. Most likely what happened is, he accelerated your thoughts to the extreme, effectively slowing your perception of time down to a crawl. That should not be possible either, Sofia rebutted. My connection with Afinareth protects me from soul-altering attacks. Assuming you say the truth, it might not have been recognized as an attack, Sun hypothesized, or... There's another possibility. Sun paused for a second, and she walked up to the room's window, looking to the void outside. They could have hijacked the Lord's rune manifesting during the reforging to emulate the Inquisitor's ability. And then you were the only one unaffected exactly because of that protection of yours, or because of your name, or your blessing. Aredes stood up. No way. That's suicide. Even for a god. Even for you. Not necessarily, Sun answered, turning back and pointing at Sofia. Just look at her. I'm hardly a normal example, but it's true that I'm relatively safe. I do have Afineretha's rune inside me right as we speak, kind of, Sofia agreed, and I know from Orator that Afinereth is currently busy, whatever that means. So maybe that saved that god from a surprise inquisition. I don't know, Aredes said, pacing around the room, how many gods would even be strong enough to activate the rune? Let alone be stupid enough to try it just to spit some drivel. I think it was more a message for me and the system than it was for Sofia, Sun explained. I hoped this wasn't the case, but I am starting to think that Moon was right. The god we're facing could be a survivor from the lost epoch. Aredes stopped walking around. A survivor? There are still survivors. There were some, Sun said with narrowed eyes, gods, and recessed both. I'm completely lost, Sofia commented. Let me give you the broad strokes, Sun offered, teleporting the trio outside of the castle and beyond the mana barrier without warning. They were standing in the void, a few hundred meters away from the bone platform, in a mana bubble Sun had created. An illusion of the planet appeared below them, verdoyant and lively. This is Veliadron, our home, Sun explained, and this, she said, as the image of the planet became grey and depressing, covered in large thunderstorms visible all the way from space, this is what it looked like, 30,000 years ago when I first opened my eyes. This looks quite bad, Sofia observed, her eyes fixated on one particular tornado-looking cloud that occupied almost a fifth of the visible sky. It was, Sun continued, and I was alone to witness it, the first divine being born after the lost epoch. What you're watching right now is what I saw back then, a dead world covered in ash and mana anomalies, ravaged by apocalyptic natural disasters. And this was already towards the end of it. This had been going on for who knows how long. Long enough for people to start adapting and once again prosper despite the situation, at least. When the population was large enough, naturally their strongest emotions became gods. First me, then death, and you can guess the rest of the story. The world and its population recovered. I did a lot of the cleanup myself, barely aware of what I was doing and why. So what about those surviving gods? Sofia asked. Well, to this day, I have no idea how they survived the collapse of the population. The lack of essence at the time should have destroyed all gods, no matter how powerful. Case in point, the previous sun and death were both gone. But they were there, hidden, and still alive, somehow. It wasn't long before they came after myself and death, perhaps thinking that they could forcefully gain some advantage over us, as we were still young and naive. I can imagine how that went, Aredes commented. We killed them, Sun confirmed with a bright smile. But there might be some who never revealed themselves and survived until today? How would you know that it isn't just any other god? Sofia asked. They could also have just been lying the entire time even about those abandonment issues. They might have, but Death, Moon and I have been keeping an eye on all divinities born after us. We already know of a few who very possibly joined Scripture's side, but, for those who would be strong enough to pull such a stunt with the Lord's rune, there are only a very select few. Aredes started counting on her fingers, the strongest of the gods and recessed, right? You, water, love, progress, wealth, death, sorrow, taxes, suffering, sickness. Am I missing anyone? Peace, life, moon, mana, unfairness, sun continued, and a few others, but generally speaking, these are the main suspects. Not all of them would be able to try this, even. And I can vouch for every single one of them's innocence in this matter. You know them that well? Sofia asked. Of course, Sun answered with a smile, or I would have long dispatched them. Sofia felt that Sun was saying outrageous things, yet her only reaction was, but you let Scripture be. Sun sighed. My time of killing other gods is far behind me. We have laws and agreements now. It's not that easy to interfere, even for me. Could I kill Scripture right now? Yes, I could, but not only would it not resolve your issues, it might be the start of a total collapse of the relative peace we have going on right now. And this. It was hard enough to get there. So. What now? I do still plan on killing Scripture myself. That won't be an issue, right? Quite the opposite, Sun laughed. Nobody can say anything if you do it by yourself, not with the history you have with him. It's personal, so to say, so any other god stepping in to stop you would be the one breaking our agreements. But you're not quite there, Sofia. In the meantime, while I'm still quite busy with the Phagiad, Moon will be searching for the culprit behind this shit. The high scribes are also hard at work to defend the system, so chances are that this mysterious lost epic god won't show up for a good while. And if he does, unless he can hijack the Lord's rune again, there will probably be several archangels rapidly approaching his location next time he dares do anything out in the open, Aredes answered. He must be hiding quite far from the planet even as we speak. You would know? Sun asked with a smirk. Aredes rolled her eyes. They only sent angels when I came down this time to help Sofia find her sister, so I guess my reputation improved a bit. I have one last question, Sofia said when the discussion died down for a moment. If the culprit is a god, even from the lost epic or whatever, is there any way I can learn of his domain? That would be hard unless he says it himself or you get your hand on one of his essences, Aredes explained, but considering you were able to feel the essence link when they came close, it is more likely a god and not a recessed, just because their plane is closer and easier to feel. That he could send you to Peace's domain also goes toward that hypothesis, though an extremely strong divinity crossing all the way to the other side is not impossible. Spoke a lot with Moon, I see, Sun commented from the side. Aredes shrugged, who else? I'm right here, and always up for getting to know each other a bit more, Sun said in an innocent voice. Hard to believe you're more than twice my age. Do you never get tired of it? Tired? Come on, I know nobody in this room is tired, the sun shines everywhere, you know, the goddess replied with a playful wink. So even Aredes can blush. Wait. Everywhere the sun shines. No wonder she knew about the painting. Chapter 494, Go Big or Go Home. Sofia gave the Midanicid catalyst to Cynthia. I insist, please take it. Not only did you help in finding me even when you had lost your memories, but you also performed worse than the rest of us in the last trial, so we have to help you keep up the pace. Hey. I did not perform that badly. But I'll take it, then. Thank you, Cynthia finally conceded after refusing the catalyst 2 times. You did well, Saria consoled the orc girl, we're just all crazy. You managed the bonus task too, not everyone even got there. I know I didn't. Wait, you didn't? Sofia repeated, looking at her sister like she had heard something nonsensical. No, I was too busy hunting a deep-water drake for months, so I missed out on the task. Got a great signature skill with that keystone though. I regret nothing. Should we do a quick roundup of how everyone did? Astelia suggested, since they were all reunited already. Sun and Aredes were still talking back in the castle, so the current group were only the trial takers and Everell. Great idea, Sofia agreed. Should I go first or last? Sister, let us brag a bit before you steal all the attention, Saria quipped, but she had been playing with Sofia's light hair for a while now, so it was clear her attention was already stolen. I'm fine with going last, you all know the broad lines already anyway. Then how about Alith goes first? I'm curious about how she did this time. She had a revenge to take on the trials since the ranking spire. Alith stopped admiring the craftsmanship on the diamond catalyst Aredes had made and looked up to the group. Me first? Sure thing. Well. You know I wagered a special essence like Sofia, right? So. The heart just flew through the trial on its own, basically, I spent all my damn time chasing after it and killing whatever got in the way, pretty much. It was a fucking tiring year. That does sound tiring, Astelia commented, did it just fly randomly? Alith shook her head. No, it guided me through the trial, really. I didn't have to think, only keep up with the pace. It guided me through the bonus task in the first week, took me through dungeons with the shortest paths, tracked down monsters to get the best possible imprints. Saria was impressed. That sounds great, said like that, I almost wish I had wagered the same thing, I might have finished the bonus task too. No, Alith answered, a look of dread on her face, you really don't want that. It was hell. Yes, it guided me, but the heart. It also attracted the monsters. Hordes of them. Always, Alith shuddered at the memories, night was the worst. I still see the sunless chasing me when I close my eyes. Sorry, Everell apologized, although she had nothing to do with it. Alith's countenance changed in an instant, she was back to her normal lively self. You don't have to be, I'm just playing it up a bit. It was bad but I'm hard to catch, especially since I got the bonus task reward early. I asked for a way to increase my stamina regeneration, and that allowed me to really go all out with my specialization. I also collected plenty of interesting plants on Cerberus, so I'm pretty happy with this last year. What about your keystone? Sofia asked, since she already knew that Alith also had an SSS rank heart. Killed a mountain elemental, like a giant sprite, kind of? Just have a look at what Clint made with it, Alith said, opening a system window for all to see. Will of the Mountain Lady, /SSS rank signature skill / This lady is done waiting, she is coming for you. Stats other than your mana cannot be lowered for 250, class level, seconds. Cooldown, unalterable 30 minutes. Stats other than your mana, Sofia read out loud. Does that mean you become immortal for the duration of the skill? Astelia asked. My health won't go down, so yes. But it's even better than that. If I activate short-term stat boosts before activating the skill, they will last until the end of it. Alith explained with a wide smile, an array of potion flasks appearing in her hands held between each fingers. That means it also works with skills like Paratha's Sanctified Grounds. That's really good, but doesn't it make your specialization useless while you activate it? Sofia observed. You're not totally right, Sof, it gives me time to regenerate my stamina, so in a way it does help, even if the specialization itself is not very useful anymore while this is active. I can't be twice immune to damage. The conversation quickly devolved from there, and instead of telling each other tales of their trials like they had wanted to originally, they just compared signature skills like it was a competition to see who had the best one. Along with Alith's, Saria's skill was equally simple in its usage. Draconic Riptides, /SSS rank signature skill / It all starts from the ebb. How exhilarating must it be, to swim against the current? Activate along any directional attack to create pressured water riptides of similar power and shape, striking in the opposite direction with a slight delay. Mana cost, 0.5% max mana plus 1000. Cooldown, 0.5s. Saria quickly demonstrated, striking a bone pillar that Sofia summoned for her, as she threw a right hook at the pillar, a fist of water followed from the left half a second later, finishing to destroy the half-broken bone cylinder. In dragon form it copies the trajectories of all 5 of my claws for the cost of a single cast. It's also pretty generous about what a directional attack is, basically anything works except lunging attacks straight ahead, she explained to the crowd. Next was Cynthia, who did not have a keystone, but still had an interesting skill nonetheless. Hype Train, /S rank signature skill / IT has never been so high. Strike forward with a blast of divine energy borrowing the domains of your viewers to inflict additional effects. Mana cost, current mana and essence tokens, spent tokens cannot exceed number of viewers *10,000. Damage, approximate mana cost *, number of viewers plus, essence token /10,000. Cooldown, 24 hours. It sounded a bit complex at first, but everyone quickly agreed that it was a good skill when Cynthia explained that not only was the attack itself almost invisible, it also had no channeling time. That meant that at any time during a fight Cynthia could empty her entire mana pool for a surprise deadly attack. More recessed also tended to watch her whenever she was fighting, so the synergy with her class worked out well. Oh, is it my turn? Iwara exclaimed when everyone looked at him, there is not much to be shown, I am afraid. While I did, in fact, go out of my way to get a keystone imprint from a chimera, this new mana heart only served to better accommodate my old magics, much to the displeasure of a certain god. So you already had something like a signature spell, Shadowman? Alith asked him. Indeed. Although the process of creating such a spell was a much different ordeal back then. Said skill has been renamed Shields of the Weave by the system. Its basic principle is that of weaving a single continuous thread of cursed mana into a protective barrier like so, he explained to the group, demonstrating as he spoke. He waved a finger around, leaving a visible trail of mana behind, and as he went, the thread folded upon itself until it became a floating sheet of cursed mana hovering in front of Iwara, connected to him by the end of the thread. It is fairly tough, long-lasting, does repair by itself a little over time if not completely destroyed, and most importantly, I am capable of maintaining many of them at the same time, he continued explaining while everyone but Everell observed his creation. He can hold about 20 of them at once, she commented. That is right, Iwara confirmed, however, I was able to handle hundreds during my prime. The time will come again. I'm sure it will, Everell said, grabbing his right arm from behind. Is the vampire lady next, then? Well. All right, here, Astelia said, looking away as she displayed her signature skills description to the group. Moon Titan, /SSS rank signature skill / always going above and beyond, a titanic body to host your titanic will. Strong gravity magic will help surround yourself with whatever matter is available nearby to create the body of a titan. The titan may be up to 1250, class level *, class level /100, *2, meters tall. The titan counts as your body for the purpose of using magic and receiving boosts. The titan counts as an external armor for the purpose of receiving damage. The titan does not consume stamina. The titan will crumble when its body integrity is too low or you run out of mana. Mana cost, base mana regeneration per second. Cooldown, 1 month. What the fuck did you kill, Asti? Alith asked, wide-eyed. J just a big sunless. Chapter 495 Hungy. The reactions to Sofia's signature skill were underwhelming. Well, that's Sofia all right, Cynthia was the first to comment. Yep, definitely Sof. The skill even requires dying multiple times, Alith added with a snarky smile. It's not. I've only died like maybe 50 to 100 times so far? It really doesn't happen that often. Saria eyed her sister disapprovingly, yes, only 50 to 100. Lil sis, I think necromancy is getting to your head a bit. Alith started counting on her fingers, 100, around 5 years, 50 months. So twice a month on average? And here I was thinking I was the half-ghost of the group. You can be half-ghost, she's half-skeleton, Everell chimed in. And you're full or half-sunless? Saria asked. She and Cynthia were the least familiar with Everell, only first meeting with her a few hours prior. Bit of a messy story but physically full, spiritually half? I think I can share that now that my contract is over, but basically I died pretty fast after being summoned. The system caught my soul before it dissipated and gave me a few options. That's how I ended up like this. Summoned heroes being treated like shit. Who was it that summoned you? Sofia couldn't help but ask. Everell shrugged it off, don't remember. Not gonna lie, I'm not even sure they were humans. That part of my memory is more than a tad blurry. I clearly remember how I died before being summoned, though. You were also dead before the summoning. Alith immediately asked, so far persuaded that she was the only one like this. I'm fairly sure I died, yet? I was more than a bit sick, too. Very rare illness, body eating itself from the inside for no apparent reason, constant excruciating pain. My family had a lot of money so they managed to keep me alive until I almost hit 30 but that was about the limit. One day I felt myself go and next thing I knew, I was here. Well, not here, but you get me. Is it a common theme that people had a shitty end to their life on their previous planet? Or could it be that it's just random who gets summoned? I wonder now, why are saints and heroes even a thing in the first place? And who the hell even summoned the human admin? Were summonings actually a thing before the system existed? Interesting. I'm trying to understand how summoning works as a side project, lots of it doesn't make much sense. Oh, and I know of a few other heroes you might want to talk to. I think you'd get along well, Alith explained. That'd be nice. Honestly, I'm happy to have found you guys already, a lot of things here feel quite familiar and that's nice, beginning with Miss Orc's class. Never thought I'd get to meet a famous streamer in person in my next life, Everell said, waving at Cynthia. They're still watching, right? I'm not famous at all. There's still 14 of them watching, yes. Being watched by 14 gods sounds stressful. Saria turned to Cynthia, 14. Isn't that a new record? Well. There were more when Sofia was telling her story about the deep. I hope you got plenty of donations, Sofia said with a nod. I got more than I deserved, honestly. A few of them have expressed their interest in maybe giving or selling you an essence, by the way. But there seems to be some conflict because they don't want to step over Soros. That's great news. They don't have to worry, I'm sure Mom doesn't mind, right? I already have 5 essences from Sun anyway, doesn't change that I'm still only Soros' apostle. Mom. Everell repeated, and Iwara started to explain the situation in more detail while the main conversation continued. Cynthia kept answering but it was clear that she was also busy reading her chat. We will have to travel to their temples and meet the other apostles, I think. That can probably be done before we go on that trip to Soros' place. Is that still a thing by the way? I don't see why not. Iwara. Sofia asked, interrupting his exchange with Everell. The shade was quick to switch gears, he had clearly been following what was being said from one ear, of course. I suspect it will take us a few months at most to locate and explore the temple. It would be best to keep the group relatively small, but technically anyone is free to join. Plans were quickly made. The expedition group was going to stay quite small, with only Sofia, Iwarat, Everell, and Cynthia, and maybe Zire if she wanted to. Saria decided to take on the mission of locating the 2 missing rings to Zangdar, mostly because she wanted one for herself. Alith was going to stay at the sect and work on the stat pills, and Astelia was going back to her home in Vasperia. First, however, Sofia was going to have to quickly travel around the planet to get as many essences as she could from the recessed, and to fix the memory of a few people, starting with Zire and Shaili. Sun randomly appeared in the middle of the group at some point, grabbing all the attention. Auntie Sun's leaving, everyone, feel free to come visit in Herzl anytime, I might even distribute a few quests to those who've yet to get one. Bye-bye. She enthusiastically announced, striking a weird pose before disappearing in a flash of light. Aredes showed up shortly after. It's quite lively here, how do you like the big diamond, she asked Sofia, seeing that the diamond catalyst was already adorning her staff. I had no time to try it out yet, but it should be great. It makes me really want to get a good combination with Restore already, Sofia answered. She had not been able to identify the catalyst herself, but Alith had done it for her and shared the system window. Prismatic Diamond Orb, a spell catalyst crafted from a high-purity sun-forged artificial diamond. Area spells cast through it will gain 50% area of effect and their effect will linger for a few seconds after deactivation. Light-focused spells cast with this catalyst as the target will scatter in all directions. Item level, 500. Grade, Legendary. Still haven't got one? Aredes asked rhetorically. You might want to start being careful of not destroying the environment too much now, the old dragon lady suggested. That applies to all of you, in fact. There are plenty of hermits out there in the wild, so the angels aren't even the only ones you risk pissing off if you go crazy. Oh. Lady Aredes, I have a question, Saria called out. No need to be so formal, girl, you're pretty much family now, what is it? Some question about your specialization that Zephyr couldn't answer. It's about signature skills, actually. Am I wrong to think that a dragon's breath is their signature skill? This thought kind of just occurred to me while we were comparing skills earlier. Aredes laughed. That is actually correct. We do not get to choose, however. Speaking of which, what did you get? Just like this the conversation looped back to signature skills, and Aredes reassured Saria that a dragon breath style signature skill for her would have been a poor choice. In her opinion, Saria's body, even temporarily transformed into a small dragon, would have been completely unable to withstand something like that until she reached at least level 400. Not to mention that she wouldn't have enough mana for it. Another thing they discussed with Aredes was how everyone was seemingly able to leave Zangdar however they wanted. Aredes reassured them that this was just how the margin worked, leaving was usually not an issue for anyone of a high enough level. Entering was another issue. Entering in a safe way, to be exact. She was relatively certain that except perhaps Richard, nobody would be able to return to Zangdar without one of the rings. Eventually it was Bookie who brought an end to several hours of lively chatting, saying that he wanted to summon the fairy right now while Aredes was still there to protect everyone. After everyone was caught up to speed with the story of the Midnisit fairy, Aredes had a good laugh taking out Richard's discarded skeleton and puppeteering it, mocking the fact that he had left so early that he was going to miss the resurrection of the fairy he'd saved himself. Is it really fine to do this? Cynthia asked, watching Aredes play with the lich's bones. Oh, it's fine, he'll never know. If he didn't want me to do this he shouldn't have left his stinky bones here for me to deal with. This guy leaves skeletons everywhere, it's actually a bit annoying. He also left one in my house and I'm pretty sure there's still one in my workshop at Zephyr's too. Sofia looked at Bookie, Bookie looked at Sofia. Is there any chance this can work? Can I try to eat it? The small skeleton asked Aredes with stars in his eye sockets. Chapter 496, Sofia is good at puzzles. Aredes thought the idea was funny, so Bookie got himself a free meal after erasing a page with skeleton boars to make space, but he looked strangely disappointed when it was time to show Sofia his new page. I'm guessing we are not getting a lich summon anytime soon, are we? Sofia asked the little skeleton as she grabbed the book he was presenting. We aren't, he confirmed, dejected. Well, let's see what kind of skeletons Richard usually walks around in, then, Sofia said as she opened the book to the last page. The drawing on the page showed a skeleton holding some kind of flask in one hand and a straight rod in the other. Some kind of alchemist? It's quite cheap, just 50 mana. She summoned the skeleton, and he appeared as he was in the drawing, holding an empty flask and a thin metal rod. What class is it? She asked, as her identify still didn't work. Solar glass blower, Saria read out loud. Nice, I could really use that one, Alith remarked. I've been trashing tons of glassware trying to work out the pill recipes. You will need good quality sand, Aredes noted, and there are other things humans use like limestone, but I'm not too sure they're really useful for someone with a dedicated class. The skeleton nodded along with what she said. It seems now is the time for me to give back what I borrowed, Iwara said, starting to take off his necklace. You really don't have to, Sofia told him, it's not like sand is hard to find. It is a small matter, the shade said as he emptied the contents of the cursed sun-shaped necklace, which consisted of a small pile of mithril ingots and a bunch of yellow sand. I no longer require that kind of assistance with a mana heart of my own, and I have already acquired another storage item, he explained, pointing at one of the many small rings he was wearing. Alright. I already had a bone field, I guess I can make a sand field. I'll just hang it up with the skelms for now. Sofia grabbed the necklace from Iwara and started walking toward her bone field. She turned her head around while she walked. Hoi, glass blower, use the sand on the ground and make something while I'm away. She slowly strolled all the way to the bone field, collected the bones and put the necklace around one of the skelm's neck. A bit of silence. Refreshing. Alright, let's get back to it. Fey time. Just do it, I tell you, Aredes said with a shrug, with me here you risk nothing. Alright, Bookie. On Sofia's command, Bookie's book form opened in front of Sofia, showing the small drawing of the Midniset fairy skeleton and its previously unaffordable price that now felt super cheap. Sofia ripped the page, and the mist gathered in front of her. Unlike all of the cheaper skeletons, the Fae was slow to form, swaths of mist swirling and coalescing together to form the small creature bone by bone in the air, starting by the legs. Just like in the drawing, the fairy looked feral, about 20 centimeters tall. Its neutral posture was more akin to a predator waiting to jump on its prey than a relaxed position like most other skeletons. Its bones were icy blue just like the Midniset ingot the Fae's soul had once been imprisoned in. Its hands and feet had tiny but sharp claws, and its 6 wings bones looked like the vein structures of oblong dried leaves. Finally, the fairy's tiny skull, the last bone to form, had 2 sharp canines like the vampires, and 2 pointy horns looking a lot like Cynthia's. She's really mad. Bookie warned. Finally a faint blue light formed within the fairy's eye sockets. Sofia heard a loud bang. The fairy's first action upon waking up had been to throw itself claws first toward Saria's head, so fast that it had been hard to even see anything happen. But it had been caught by Aredes' bare hand long before it could reach its target. The fairy screeched and struggled to free itself from the dragon's grasp, without success. Caught a feisty one, it seems. Looks like it's really mad at Saria, Aredes observed as she firmly held the tiny screaming ball of rage. Did I slaughter fairies in a past life? Saria asked, perplexed at the creature's hatred being directed at her specifically. After a second of reflection, Sofia gave her hypothesis, because you're the only human, maybe. What are why? Wait, I actually am. How's this then? Saria said, putting on her dragon mask, the reward she got from the 99th floor of the ranking tower. The screeching instantly stopped. Well shit. Good that you got that race change, Sof, Alith commented. I can't help but feel like this will be an issue later. The fairy's skull turned to Sofia, and it pronounced a few unintelligible words. Sofia looked at Aredes but she shook her head, no clue what she's saying, sorry. Doesn't even sound close to any language I know. Iwara? Sofia asked. That is peculiar, the shade said, that certainly is not the Fey dialect that I happen to have some basics in. Bookie, any insight? She's a bit less mad now? I think. Do you understand me? Aredes asked in Draconic, which Sofia took a second to translate in her head, but the Fey did not seem to understand at all. She's very scared. Bookie interjected. Aredes smiled, so she at least knows to fear the superior species. Not as brainless as she looks. Saying this while you have bunny ears and a small puffy tail is tremendously funny, Doppel snarked from Alith's chest. Oh, you're awake for once. Alith reacted, looking down at her sentient piece of clothing. Is the temple safe? Doppel said next, completely ignoring Alith. That's what she said. Wait, you understood that? Alith continued, shocked to discover a hidden talent of her annoying shirt. Of course I do. What kind of rag do you take me for? What temple? Sofia said to Doppel, and Doppel proceeded to translate it into the weird dialect of the fairy. Now she's a bit relieved but also worried. Bookie told everyone, continuing to provide a live feed of the fairy's emotions. The fairy answered Doppel and Doppel translated back for the group, the planar gate temple I was guarding. Planar gate temple. Wait. Planar gate? Without a word, Sofia activated the autumn movement of sixth melody, the cursed music helping her organize her thoughts easier. A scenario rapidly assembled in her head, starting from one simple memory, the image of a giant fissure opening in the sky, a planar gate the Alphagiad used to invade Veliadron. Current year, 3215. Around the year 1700, Zangdar is built on the foundation of a gigantic Middenacid vein created by the corrupting influence of the half-dead fairy whose soul was not disappearing somehow. Zhnglu found the remains of the fairy along with the Middenacid tablets in the ruins of an underground civilization deep beneath Zangdar. He brought them to Richard and Alcorm, as evidenced by the fact that Richard knew about the tablets and Alcorm helped forge the ingot. The original description of the tablets. Mr. Scribe was quick to find the very old identify logs for Sofia. She now knew that these were provided by the High Scribe database. This set of carvings detains great secrets and possibilities. Level, 500. Grade, Forgotten. Not just carvings. Even beyond their link to the deep, doesn't this description imply that they have some kind of special use? Then the fairy mentions a planar gate. Meanwhile, the device keeping this place floating in the margin and that brought it here in the first place. Sofia still remembered the words from Zhnglu's letter. The plane crossing device. But it's clearly a modern device using recent ritual magic and avian-style runes, and it's not been turned to Middenacid. So it is not the planar gate, but a copy? Perhaps made in part thanks to the knowledge found in the tablets? And here comes the major discrepancy. When we asked Jen about the Phagiad, she said that the invasions occurred around every 500 years, with us still having about 40 years before the next one. The second one thus was around 500 years ago, while the first one would be 500 years before that, the one I got to witness during my first trial. That would put the next and third attack around the year 3250, the second attack around the year 2750, and the first attack around 2250. Meanwhile, Zhang Lu was stuck in Zangdar for what sounds like a few years after the attack and his letter was dated from 1758. Zangdar fell to a Phagiad attack around the year 1750. But back then, there was supposedly no sign of a large-scale attack anywhere else. There's no fucking way, right? Right? And there was a tablet depicting the deep, so the planar gate being able to reach the deep is not the most far-fetched conclusion. The rift the Alphagiad came from. It was spewing a strange red light. Sofia? Sofia, you're still here? Saria asked, while everyone worriedly looked at Sofia. I think I need to sit down. Chapter 497, Mildly Annoyed Skeleton. I was lost in my thoughts after Doppel translated the thing on a temple. Did I miss anything? Sofia asked after sitting down in the air. Aside from your dragon grandma threatening my talking bra into revealing that the language it and the fairy are talking is named Edirenian. Not much, Alith recounted. Edirenian? That's a familiar name. Saying so, a number of skeletal hands appeared out of the ground and grabbed Sofia's ankles. In the spirit realm, the phase soul was quite strange, like a bunch of smaller souls piled together around a core to form a cohesive whole. Edirenian dark arts of soul grafting. I see. Anyone knows anything about it? She asked. Aredes answered her, although this is my first time hearing it spoken, I know a bit about the Edirenians. They were a religious cult, basically. It's hard to date them exactly, but they were already ancient history when I learned about them. A religious cult? Worshipping who? Astelia asked, curious about this cult she had never heard of. Worshipping what, would be more exact, Aredes started to explain. From what I understand, they worshipped a thing they called the Great Tapestry of Fate. They believed that the universe was moving inexorably toward a singular great goal, and that it was their duty to repay for the gift of life given to them by bringing about the advent of this great goal as early as possible. It sounds like many people could have an issue with that, depending on what the great goal is. Sofia analyzed. Any clue on what that was or how they disappeared? I don't think that they knew themselves, Aredes answered, shaking her head. I only ever found a few books on the subject, but none of them ever elaborated on the goal itself or how anything that the Edirenians did helped to further it. As for how they disappeared, records are a bit blurry, but I believe they tried to steal some artifact from a Cleopatra princess. Kleptras again? I'm shocked I still haven't met a single one with how they keep popping up. Everell shivered at the mention of the Kleptra. That would probably do it. Angering the Kleptra is really having a death wish. That comment surprised Aredes, who turned to Everell. Got experience with the Kleps, kid? I got to meet all the seraphs at work meetings. There's a Kleptra seraph? Is there a seraph for each major race, I wonder? Oh. So you've crossed paths with Erzgat. Well, he's one of the more civilized ones, if I have to compare. Is he? Everell asked back in shock, shaking visibly. Well, he's still a Kleptra, Aredes answered with a shrug, but never mind that. Something was on your mind, Sofia. Ah, yes. I just noticed a few things and that led me to, an interesting hypothesis. Seeing that everyone was waiting for her to elaborate, Sofia kept going. Well, with the mention of a planar gate temple being here, it's not too far-fetched to think there was a planar gate, right? Doppel said a few words in Edirenian, and the fairy, who had been silent in Aredes' hand until now, answered with a few angry-sounding words. Of course there's a fucking planar gate, what do you think I was defending? Is what she said, Doppel translated. Thanks. So, starting from there, I thought back to the Middenicid tablets that Alith and I found in this castle. They represented all the planes or reality, deep included, and were found in ruins deep beneath where this castle used to be. Supposedly that's also where the fairy's skeleton also originally was, Sofia explained, bringing out the one tablet she still had, which Afinareth had altered. This is the only tablet I've got left. I sold the others to Richard. It used to only have Afinareth's face on it, but yet, was touched up a bit. The fairy started screaming again at the sight of the tablet. You will pay for defacing our holy artifacts, you wench, blah blah blah, Doppel translated with no enthusiasm. Aredes squeezed the fairy a bit and that shut her up again. So, the planar gate existing near these tablets representing the planes, I made the assumption that it might be able to open a connection to the deep. Everyone still follows me. I think I get where you're going from there, Saria answered from behind her mask. Well, you were there when we spoke with Jen and I told you about my first trial. So. Next is the Phagiad. They launched 2 large-scale attacks on the planet 500 and 1,000 years ago. Did they come before that? Sofia asked Aredes. Yes. They have been a thing for quite a while, but only the weak ones, and they were a rather rare sight. We used to think these were just native monsters like any others for a long while before Sun herself clarified that they were not, and that she was holding them back. However, the first large-scale invasion was indeed the one from just 1,000 years ago. Alright, so. And I think everyone will start to understand things a bit better from this. This city was invaded and overrun by Phagiad around the year 1750. 1,500 years ago. So, they attack every 500 years, when Sun is at her weakest, and 500 years before their first large invasion, they came here. So they stole the Edirenian planar gate, or at least copied the technology, and are using it to invade. Astelia concluded as she followed along. That's what I think, but not only that. During my first trial, I got to witness the Phagiad's first invasion. When they attacked the city my trial was taking place in, and the Phagiad then came from a fissure in space glowing with a strange red light. Saria nodded. Oh, yeah. Red light. To make it short, Sofia explained, I recognize that red light now. It's light from the deep. I can tell, I have been there. No wonder the fuckers are so hard to track down, Aredes mumbled. Alith interjected, I follow you so far, Sof, but there's one thing I don't get. Wouldn't that all mean that Richard already knows all this? Aredes frowned. Unsummon the fairy, she ordered Bookie. Sofia silently approved, so Bookie followed the order, and the Middenicid fairy's soul returned to Bookie. Then Aredes disappeared and reappeared with Remia in her arms, passing the sleeping dryad along to Sofia. Alith. Ring, she ordered next, as large mana circles appeared under the group's feet. Alith obliged and the entire group was transported out of Zangdar, landing on the large metal platform that surrounded the Tower of Rebirth on Veliadron. Kyle appeared next to the group almost instantly, but before he could say anything, Aredes jumped away, transforming into her dragon form mid-air and disappearing into the distance, creating a storm behind her. Well damn! Someone is angry, Kyle commented as he watched her disappear. Glad to see you're still among the living, you three, he said to Sofia and her skeletons, got us worried for a minute. Took you all for dead, honestly. What's she so pissed for? Something to do with that dryad? No, boss, she believes the Lich hid information on the Phagiad, Everell naturally answered. I'm no longer your boss, you know? Also that's a big fucking accusation. Oh, by the way, Sofia, I just got word from above that it's safe for you to reconnect. You still won't be able to get experience or new skills but at least at SH. Kyle was interrupted mid-sentence by a big angry black dragon landing near the tower with a bang. She spat a saliva-covered skeleton on the platform with disdain before transforming back to her horned human form with her armor on and her mithril halberd out. Richard got up slowly, cleaning himself in an instant with a quick spell, and scratching his skull. I said I was coming, so what the hell was that for, exactly, he asked, sounding confused more than anything else. After Aredes explained the accusations against him to Richard, it was his turn to get mad, although he sounded more like a disappointed father than an infuriated old lich. I'm the one who spent most of his last 1,000 years fighting back the tentacled fucks and you think I would hide something like this? Has your brain also started to rot, Aredes? Then explain yourself, she answered coldly. Listen. As soon as my friend brought back the tablets, Alcorm and myself went to check the place, of course we did, but all we found were the remains of an old Eterenian cult chamber, completely turned to Middenicet. What gate? It was all monorepulsive stone by the time I got there. Let us ask Alcorm to testify, then, Aredes continued without emotion. Richard sighed audibly, you would doubt my word to this extent? Fine then. Call Alcorm, I stand by my words. I've never been anything but fair and honest in all I do. Aredes then looked in Kyle's direction and it was Kyle's turn to sigh, I'll be right back. Then Richard spoke up again, as for the matter of the tablets and Zangdar's planar device. The tablets do hold some encoded information on the planes, but I have long deciphered them, hence why they were returned to my friend Zhnglu, as he was the one who discovered them. The information in itself is not that valuable, and is certainly not enough to build something as ludicrous as a gate linking to all planes. Believe me that if it was, I would have long built one already. Meanwhile, the contraption that sent the city of Zangdar to the margin is just an extension of my craft as a spatial storage specialist, it has nothing to do with any planar gate or Eterenian relics. What a peculiar group of people, a young man in flowing bright green robes said to himself after he appeared out of nowhere at the end of Richard's mildly annoyed tirade, Kyle standing next to him, a pleasant surprise to see you alive and well, Grand Animist of Eocht. Chapter 498, One Step Forward, Two Steps Back. Sir Morlock of the Mantle, alive and well, Iwara answered the young man, opening his arms wide, it pleases me also to find you in good health after all this time. My countenance hath changed greatly since the glory of Eocht, what gave my identity away? The hole in my chest, perhaps. Alcorm brought a hand to his face, his oversized green sleeves hiding his expression as a crystalline laugh escapes his mouth before he answered, yours is a countenance one would be hard-pressed to forget, my friend. But we shall catch up at a later time. He turned toward the rest of Sofia's group as he introduced himself, Alcorm Diosorian, Seraph and Guardian of the Mantle of Love and Hate. It is my honor to meet so many rising stars at once on this auspicious day. How may my presence be required? Sofia cast a glance at Cynthia at the mention of the Mantle of Love and Hate. Seraph? I thought Aredes said he lived in the middle of the human peninsula? Have we been that close to a trial tower all this time without knowing? I understand now what Richard meant when he said we would inevitably meet him if we kept leveling. It was Aredes who explained the current matters to Alcorm, and the story left him in a pensive mood. A troubling matter, to be sure. I believe there to be some merit to the planar gate theory, but I must support Richard's recounting of the events that unfolded back then. There was nothing left of value to salvage from these ruins save for said Fey skeleton and remnant soul, let alone something like this. That being said, however, I can already picture a few ways things might have gone, if you'll indulge me. Aredes pressed him to continue, we're listening. Well, these are but conjectures, but here goes, Alcorm started, walking around with his arms behind his back. First of all, I am inclined to think that we are onto something here, and I have to wonder if the act of allowing mana to flow freely inside of the once closed-off Eterenian ruins might be what alerted the Phagiad to their presence. Starting from there, a number of possibilities open. If my recollections are correct, there was a significant lapse of time between our hero acquaintance getting his hands on the tablet and Richard receiving them, something in the realm of 6 months to a year. More than enough time for a potential planar gate to be extracted from there before we even caught wind of this affair. Would you have not noticed that something was missing? Aredes questioned. Who is to say? Alcrom answered with a shake of his head, said planar gate could be an artifact small enough to fit in one's hand, not to mention, noticing the lack of something in a place made entirely of one uniform layer of mimeticid is easier said than done, though I suppose there is nothing preventing us from going to check by ourselves once more. Now for the other possibilities. The Phagiad are known to be life forms adjacent to mimeticid. It is no exaggeration to say that something made of mimeticid for them is akin to an object of flesh for us mortals of Veliadron. Restoring flesh to its original state has long been one of the most studied subjects when it comes to mortal societies, our eternal stand against death being what it is. Perhaps the Phagiad were able to restore the gate from its corrupted state. That sounds unlikely, Aredes shut down his hypothesis in an instant. But not entirely impossible, Alcorm continued with a shrug. Lastly, assuming the Eterenians truly had access to such a groundbreaking technology, who is to say they only had one gate? Why not just ask the fairy? Sofia suggested. Alcorm laughed again, hiding his face. I doubt that would lead us anywhere. Zealots of the Eterenian cult have never been known to trust outsiders. I suppose it is worth a try, nevertheless. Bookie, your turn, Sofia told the small skeleton hiding behind her. He refused to step up, for some reason. Sofia turned around. Bookie. The skeleton grabbed Sofia's leg. Sofia, he stuttered, shaking and sounding distraught. Something is wrong. Sofia dropped to her knees, holding the shaking skeleton. What's going on? Bookie grabbed his skull, letting out a pained groan, before falling limp in Sofia's arms, panting. The fairy, he said, his voice breaking, her soul. What about it? It had exploded, Bookie said on the verge of tears. I couldn't stop her. I'm sorry, Sofia. I'm sorry, I. That's it. Sofia said calmly, stroking the top of Bookie's skull. You're not hurt. And no, but the fairy. I don't care about the stupid fairy. You scared me. Here, calm down, everything is all right, as long as you're not hurt everything is all right, Sofia told the sulking skeleton. She turned her head, still holding Bookie. Well, there goes this lead. Sorry we couldn't be more helpful, but it looks like this was going nowhere anyway. Deranged fanatic zealots, I tell you, Alcorm said, nodding to himself. I expected nothing less. Such a waste of effort it was to save her soul in the first place. Are you left with the skeleton, still? Richard asked, curious, and Bookie nodded in response. Wait, really? Sofia asked Bookie. Yes. But she's just a regular skeleton now. Sofia was wide-eyed at that revelation. She had fully expected the page to be gone just like her dog after getting caught by the deep parasites. Ah ha ha ha. She laughed. What a joke. Sofia said before she looked at Richard, trying to escape through death in front of 2 necromancers. Sofia brought up Bookie's book form, trying hard to contain her laughter as she flipped through the pages. She summoned the Mimeticid fairy a second time. The fairy slowly formed from Bookie's mist under the large group's eyes. Unlike the first time, it did not attack anyone, and was waiting for her orders, like any other one of Bookie's subservient skeletons. Bookie's skeletons are very special, Sofia explained with a wide grin. They may not retain memory from their previous life, but they retain all manner of general and magical knowledge. Can she lead us to a planar gate? Aredes questioned, instantly getting Sofia's intentions. Can you lead us to a planar gate? Sofia repeated to the fairy. The answer was a curt nod. Kyle was left behind as Richard teleported everyone else to the mountain range north of the human continent and east of the Red Desert, the very same one that Sofia once hunted the Stone Ogre tribe in, although much further to the north. The group stood at the very top of a decrepit set of stone stairs, going down a deep chasm in between 2 rocky mountains. These were the stairs that once led to the prosperous hidden underground city of Zangdar, or what remained of them. A few quick teleportations down the chasm, and the group found themselves gazing into a deep hole. "Oh my," Alcorm gasped, "it appears we were truly late, this time. There is not the slightest trace of Midnisit left anywhere." "That's a suspiciously thorough excavation job," Richard marveled at the sight. "I don't know what we might have found with the help of the Fae, but it's clear that someone was one step ahead. The Phagiad would hide the evidence after the fact." Aredes asked, "When was the last time anyone came here?" "While I did come a few times after the city's disappearance in a bid to salvage the situation, I have to admit that my last visit dates a long way back. Perhaps about 800 years. The city was gone but the ruins were still mostly intact, back then. The last time I stepped foot here dates back to a few days after the city's disappearance itself. There was no clear reason why they even activated the emergency mechanism in the first place. I only learned later from Richard that he had already disposed of the Phagiad still remaining there," Alcorm explained in turn. "I should still have those specimens stored somewhere, they were not special in any way." Having no further obvious lead to follow, Sofia questioned the fairy skeleton a bit more, but the only worthwhile information she managed to get out of it was that it was not aware of any other planar gate. It could not even lead the way to any other Eterenian cult chambers. That being said, she handed Alcorm the letter from Zhnglu that she had been holding onto for a long time, and the dragon gave her a strange jade slip as thanks, without an explanation as to what it was at all. After that, Sofia and her group were sent to Vesperia, while Richard and the dragon stayed behind, looking to investigate further into the planar gate situation. "Well, let's get started," Sofia announced as she appeared in the middle of the Vesperian capital. "We have much to do. Who's coming with me to pay Zire's school a visit?" Chapter 499, The Late Bird Gets the Sprite. Although Zire's school was going to be an important stop, Astelia first led everyone to the Vesperian administration, where she had people call for a Gran, Cardinal and Shaili, so that Sofia could fix their memory. Surprisingly, none of them were available, but Astelia learned that she had received a summon from the Vampire Queen, so she had to bid farewell to the group for now, though they promised to go all have a meal together before Sofia decided to leave again. Somehow, the rest of the morning turned into a shopping trip after that. One of the main stops was at a renowned vampire tailor to take Bookie's measurements, and in general to extend everyone's wardrobe. Sofia sold a lot of blood and other things she had collected during the trial, and bought stuff for Zangdar like a lot of colorful books and artworks, to break the monotony of the white and gold bone furniture, as well as a variety of seeds for plants that did not need sunlight. It was to be noted that Perith was the one carrying Remia ever since the group had left Zangdar, and the Dryad still had yet to give any sign of waking up despite getting plenty of sunlight. It was a lot of fun just roaming the roads of the Vesperian capital, as the young country was still in active development, and a variety of new shops and establishments had opened in one short year of absence. Notably, the Red Wines Empire's Adventurers Guild had opened a branch there, almost entirely staffed by vampires, as a diplomatic move to build good relations with this new power on the human continent. The group's stroll through the city finally led them to Zire's school, aptly named, Zire's School. It was not a very big place, not from the outside, at least, looking like essentially a two-story city house in the middle of the capital, but Sofia knew that Zire had plans and authorizations to build a rather large underground extension underneath. Bookie pushed the door open, activating a ritual circle that produced the sound of ringing bells, and everyone entered the school, making its entrance quite crowded. The entrance hall was just a tiny room with a couch and a desk, decorated with various ritual circle schematics framed on the walls. A voice came from another room, "I'll be here in a minute, yes." Zire finally came running after a while, looking the same as always in her colorful traditional avian attire. "Welcome." "Oh. Plenty of known faces." Hi, yes. "Do you like my place?" "Oh, and Astelia isn't here. Is she not done with her trial yet?" Zire asked as she came to greet everyone after leaving a few things she had been carrying on top of the desk. Asti had official things to deal with, she might still come in a bit if she finishes that early, Sofia answered. Zire stopped when she looked at Sofia for the second or third time. "Wait a minute. Something is wrong. Would you happen to be the person I forgot about?" "Yes. You realized that fast?" Sofia asked. "Well, you have a soul-engraved ritual. I don't remember selling that technique to anyone yet, no, and I trust my friends not to leak it. That leaves a single very obvious possibility. Besides, I remember Perith perfectly well, and how closely he is guarding you in particular even now is not lost on me." Still sharp, Ziray. To explain briefly what happened, someone from within the system rebelled, and they deleted all my data, including people's memory of me through their scribes. Ziray held her temples at the notion, damn scribe will be the death of me for real, yes. Don't blame your scribe, it's not like they had a choice, come here, hold my hand and the system should be able to use that to restore your memory, Sofia explained with a kind smile. Ziray looked at the others for approval, and seeing that even Inwara and Alith silently nodded, reached out to hold Sofia's hand. The change in Ziray's frustrated expression was immediate, I can't believe I had actually forgotten. This is horrendous, yes. How could the system let that happen? At least now it's fixed. I'll take my revenge for it eventually, don't worry, oh, and I think Cynthia had a message to you from Curse. Sofia said, turning to the absent-minded orc lady busy reading text on an invisible screen. That was quite frustrating, yes. Imagine forgetting the name and face of your savior. Shaili especially was even more impacted, yes. That being said, it was clearly a rushed job, yes. Our memories of everything else surrounding Sofia were unaffected, making it very clear that someone was missing, Ziray explained as she guided the group through her small recently finished school. Oh, and here's the spell testing room, yes, she said as they entered a large underground room. Lots of students already? Alith asked, seeing as they had seen no one other than Ziray herself in the entire building. Not many, no. But the few I have good prospects, yes. All vampires? Saria asked next. Surprisingly no, Ziray denied, though most are vampires, of course, we have a lizard beastman too, he's a very nice boy, yes, very good with curses. A lizard beastman? Like Niset, then? What about Shaili? Sofia asked. She comes to train here often ever since she returned from the trial. She's not formally my student, no, but you know. As a trainer, my track record for the second trial is pretty good, yes. If you consider Alith and myself to be your first two trainees then that's a good average, yes. Well I hope to get Shaili to at least the 99th floor, yes. Ziray declared with confidence in her voice. Didn't you fail on floor 96? Sofia questioned with narrowed eyes. This is that and that's that, yes. Shaili did very good. She even got a specialization too, Ziray said with a giggle. What did she get for her trial? Saria asked from the back. Heh, you better ask that to her by yourselves, yes, Ziray answered, barely able to contain her laughter. What could be so funny about Shaili's trial? A voice came from the ground floor above the group, muffled by the distance, Ziray? Did you forget to lock the door again? Sofia clearly recognized Shaili's voice, though it was ever so slightly deeper than it used to be. Speak of the basilisk, Ziray said with a hint of derision, I'm in the training room. Come say hi to the guests, yes, she called out. We have guests? Coming. A tall and voluptuous Exidian woman came running down the stairs, her long white hair trailing behind her. Holy shit! Shaili. Did she grow that much in a year and a half? It was unmistakably the same Exidian teenager that Sofia once taught her custom angel's bolt to, her tiny curved horns were still the same, but she had otherwise gone from looking like a young teen to a full-blown adult in the blink of an eye. Shaili opened her mouth to greet everyone but she stopped midway, her eyes opening wide in shock, she pointed at Sofia. It's you. Sofia teleported forward past the group and reappeared right in front of Shaili, grabbing her extended arm. It's me. You've grown a lot, Sofia said with a smile as a violent shiver traveled through Shaili's body. Sofia! Shaili cried out in shock. That's right, sorry for the memory issues, couldn't help it but at least now it's fixed. You're crazy, the Exidian woman accused. Can't deny that, not what I expected your first words for me to be, though. With that, Shaili burst into laughter. Sorry, it was the first thing that came to mind. You deserve it too, it's your fault my trial was so hard, she complained jokingly. My fault? Sofia repeated, intrigued, finally letting go of Shaili's arm and taking a step back to give her some space. Ziray couldn't contain her laughter any longer, laughing by herself in the middle of the training room under the concerned gazes of the rest of the group. Your fault? Do you have any idea how crazy I felt when I woke up in a crypt, as a level 1, bleeding out from my arm above a polished skeleton? Sofia instantly felt cold sweat running down her back, ahaha. You're joking. Right. Shayali's eyes were locked with Sofia's for several seconds, then as Shayali's lips curved upwards into a smile, a small system window appeared for Sofia to read. Name, Shayali Orman Cleeth. Age, 18. Class, Sprite Regulator. Level, 143. Oh fuck. Chapter 500s, Unholy Beginnings, again. Shayali stepped down from the teleportation platform, her nose assaulted by the strong smell of the salty sea breeze. And that should be the last teleport for today, a bespectacled vampire sat at a desk with a notepad said to himself as he scribbled something. What would your name be, young lady? Shayali. I work for Royal Mage Cardinal. The vampire adjusted his glasses and flipped through a few pages in his notebook. Shayali. Shayali. There you are. Please sign here, he told her. A small signature later, Shayali was out of the teleportation station, in the streets of a small floating village in the middle of the sea. The few people walking around were all vampires or humans, and a sign placed right outside of the teleportation station indicated lodging/trial towers. Shayali turned right. Very few people die. This is going to be fine. Despite her attempts at calming her beating heart, Shayali's nervousness was mounting up as the system prompt indicating her distance to the tower slowly neared zero. Soon, she was close enough, and the towers invisible until then, revealed themselves at the far end of the floating village. Shayali looked up, unable to see the top of the 3 gargantuan towers. Please proceed to the trial site, tower, distance, 49 m. A vampire was standing guard right there, going for the trial, young lady? Third person today. Yours should be the tower on the right, good luck. Shayali thanked the guard and walked up. The distance prompt indeed seemed to indicate that the tower she was headed for was the one on the right. She made her way right to the doors of the tower, stepping on its stone stairs entrance, and pushed. The doors were like a wall, not showing the slightest sign of opening. Are the doors stuck? Shayali looked behind her to see if the vampire knew what was going on, but she saw nothing but the blue ocean and the setting sun. The village and the wooden platform she had been stepping on just seconds ago were nowhere to be seen. What is? She reflexively summoned a fire sprite to defend herself, but there was nothing to defend against. Waves lazily crashed against the towers, and that was all. Then she heard something different, clicking sounds coming from above. Something was crawling down the tower, something massive. Shayali was too scared to move. The massive creature looking like it came straight from a nightmare stopped just a few meters above her. Shayali could not even see it clearly, as if light avoided the monster, but the giant insectoid silhouette was disturbing enough by itself, not to mention the purple fluid dripping from the thing's supposed mouth, which seemed to dissolve the sea water as it touched it, creating uncanny sounds and putrid smoke. Curious, a rattling voice clanked in Shayali's ears, a mysterious force is keeping these doors closed. After a few seconds of a deafening silence only punctuated by the dripping of the purple saliva and the buzzing sound of the creature's wings that Shayali could not even see, the voice resounded again. No matter, try the other doors, the voice ordered in a tone that commanded authority, before the creature crawled back up the tower, disappearing into the sky. Shayali's vision seemed to warp for a second, and the village reappeared as if it had never been gone. The vampire guard was looking away from the towers, he seemed not to have noticed anything. Swallowing her saliva, Shayali silently walked toward the opposite tower. A single thing had kept her sane through the terrifying encounter, her identify result reading, Seraph. Her heart sank when these doors, too, refused to open, but this time, the village was still there, and no nightmarish creature came to visit. There's still a third tower. Walking to the farthest tower from the village, Shayali's blue hands pressed against the tower's door. Please open. The doors opened with no resistance, revealing the unlit interior of the gargantuan trial tower. You have entered, Saint's Tower. So this one works, the disturbing voice of the giant creature echoed around the walls as the doors closed behind Shayali. Have you made an enemy of some powerful god, young one? What? No, Shayali reflexively denied. Someone is trying to interfere with your trial, the voice announced, sounding amused at the thought. How brazen. To think they would try something even after I was dispatched here. Sit down, Exidian, your trial will be unaffected. No god in this world stands a chance against me, the voice added in a smoldering tone. You understood, Shayali answered before sitting down against the wall near the closed doors. The sinister voice laughed as Shayali lost consciousness, hiding, still? Show yourself, impertinent weakling. Suffer the fury of Erz. Shaoli's eyes shot open, she was jolted awake by a piercing pain in her left arm. She was standing straight, much taller than usual, and the first thing she saw was a stream of crimson blood quickly escaping her new body. What in death's name? Her first reflex was to try summoning a light sprite to heal her injuries, only to find out that she did not have that skill. Undeterred by that, she attempted to wildcast it, therefore discovering that she did not even have enough mana to summon a single sprite. Did my trial really have to start like this? She struggled to rip off a piece of the shirt she was wearing and did her best to quickly stop the bleeding with the makeshift bandage she wrapped as hard as she could. The emergency dealt with, she could finally take weight of her situation. She was in a human-looking body, standing above a skeleton in a ritual circle that was slowly coming to life, fueled by the shed blood. Congratulations, you have been chosen as a new saint. Congratulations, you have unlocked the class, Necromancer. Changing class to 2, Saintess Necromancer. No. No, wait, there must be a mistake. Shaoli opened her status sheet. Name, Sofia. Age, 19. Class, Saint Necromancer. Level, 1-1. Health, error. Stamina, error. Mana, error. Active skills, 0/5. Passive skills, 0/5. Classless skills, 4/5. Menial chores, level 7. Sprint, level 3. Fast reading, level 12. Shenanigans, level 48. Fuck. The status sheet abruptly closed a few seconds later. Error. User can only have one active class. Error. Please reduce your current classes to 1. Error. Unknown class. Admin action required. Available admins, 0. Initiating emergency recovery. Please wait. Shaoli clearly remembered that one time she had shared childhood stories with her then teacher. And I woke up chained to a bed surrounded by guards, the church had summoned me during the night, Sofia had finished with at the time. And you managed to escape? Was what Shaoli asked next. She now felt remorseful that she had never pushed the subject further. Sofia's answer now felt like a punch in the gut. That's a story for another time. Shaoli laughed to herself as the skeleton in front of her slowly stood up. The time is now, then. Just then, more system notifications popped up. Trial task, escape the Holy See. Additional rewards task, defeat a Siren Queen. Time limit, 15 months. Great. I remember about that too. A level 180 Siren Queen. I have a year and a half. Shaoli took a second to organize her thoughts as she watched the skeleton being assembled bone by bone. Alright. It's not that bad, if teacher Sofia was able to do it, I can do it too. At least I somewhat understand the situation I'm in, that's more than what most people have to work with. First thing first. When the skeleton was finally fully assembled, its eye sockets started glowing with a faint golden light. Shaoli raised a hand. Should I find a different name? No. That would be disrespectful. Let's do this. Welcome to this world, hero. I name you, Perith. Congratulations, you have baptized your first hero. Error. The baptized hero is currently unconscious, giving hero's blessing draws privilege to the summoner. Please draw 3 cards. I get to choose. Illusory cards appeared everywhere around Shaoli, facing away from her. I don't think I even ever heard of Perith's actual blessing. Well, it's random anyway, isn't it? Shaoli picked the first 3 cards in front of her. Please select a blessing for the hero, Perith. Blessing of the Steady Hand. A rank. You are unfazed by the vicissitudes of life. Keep a clear mind in all circumstances and enjoy a doubled agility substat growth. Blessing of the Flies. S rank. You are tainted by the touch of a powerful essence. All organic matter slowly withers and decays around you. Nearby undead and yourself slowly regain life over time. Blessing of the Weightless. S rank. You are unburdened by gravity. You gain the ability to reduce your body weight at will, you can soar through the air and land like a feather. This extends to whatever you are wearing, up to a point. I really doubt the real Perith's blessing is any of those. He certainly has something better than that. Can you understand me? Shaoli asked the skeleton who was standing perfectly still. He was unresponsive. Can you jump? The skeleton jumped in place. Better than nothing. Ah, that cost me some mana. Before deciding on the blessing to pick, Shaili climbed out of the small crypt, finding herself in the middle of a forest in the dark of night. She returned to the crypt. I don't think I can find Sofia's orphanage. The human church is going to summon me anyway. I might want to keep my options open for later. Nothing forces me to choose a blessing now, right? Shaili whinged from the pain in her arm as she bumped into the wall on the way down the stairs to the crypt. I need to level up and get enough mana for a sprite.